Hello and welcome. You're watching Bloomberg Quint. This is Ask PQ and I'm Alex Matthew. If you've got questions on equity, then this is the perfect show for you. You can send those queries to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-4540-4141 or you can mail us on askpq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the Ask PQ hashtag. Let's take a check of the markets before we go into the individual queries. Let's first pull up the benchmarks. They were trading higher than they are right now. They've more or less settled at gains of about 0.5%, both for the Nifty and the Sensex. And that strength that you saw earlier in the week continues today as well. But I also want to point out the money markets as they stand, because you've seen quite a big move in the rupee this morning as well. You've seen a gain in the rupee. Let's pull up the rupee and see where it's trading currently at 71.5 or thereabouts. In fact, having gained about 50 paise against the dollar. Let's also pull up the bond market, the bond yield on the 10-year benchmark. It has not moved too much today, but if you look at the 3-day change, it's about 17-18 basis points lower. You see the chart trending lower, and that essentially today's move, perhaps you can look at it in terms of a reaction to the CPI reading that came in yesterday. That has come in at, the latest one has come in at a 17-month low, in fact at 2.33%. So the prices continue to fall lower. That bodes well when you look at it in terms of or the perspective of a policy rate cut, or the possibility of it at least. The rate sensitive sectors therefore doing particularly well in trade today. Let's pull up the Nifty Bank. A lot of the constituents in the Nifty Bank trading positive. The Nifty PSU Bank also trading positive for a second day, in fact. You also have the Nifty Realty and several components within the Nifty Realty trading positive. I do want to mention the broader markets, because the strength that you've seen so far this week rather, is continuing both in the mid-cap and in the small-cap index. You see a % gain for the mid-cap index and a 0.3% gain in the small-cap index. Let's also talk about the Nifty contributions and see what's moving in trade today and what's moving those benchmarks higher. Of course, you have the financials. You have HDFC Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Maruti Suzuki also gaining in trade today. And we'll come to India Bulls, because that entire group has been doing quite well in trade today. All of the companies that form that India Bulls group, I'm talking about India Bulls Housing Finance, you also have the real estate entity, you have India Bulls Ventures, all of them doing well in trade today. I do want to mention Yes Bank as a special mention of a stock that you have to watch out for in trade today, up about 1% before that crucial board meeting that will perhaps decide who's going to take charge as the MD and CEO of the bank. Rana Kapoor, remember, has to step down by the end of January. I also want to mention Bandhan Bank. It's gotten clearance to set up additional branches. You see a lot of strength in that stock today, about 7% higher for Bandhan Bank. And finally, also Tata Motors. Strength for Tata Motors, again carrying on from yesterday's session. The stock is up about 1.9%. The news that is coming today is that it will increase vehicle prices from January. A lot of automobile companies, in fact, announcing that of late. But with that, let me get our two experts of the day in. Asta Jain of Haim Securities and Jignesh Mehta of kiranjadhav.com are here to answer all of your questions. Welcome to the show. I just want to get a question in to, Jignesh, if I can at the moment. Jignesh, some of those names that I was mentioning, especially in the financial space, are you seeing any trades in the short term that you can point out to the to the viewers that we have right now?
I think currently from the names that you have suggested, all of them have gone really up. But I think India Bulls Housing Finance still has a chance to go up. At the same time, Ujjivan Finance, I think it is quite up for the day. But if you see in the morning trade itself, the stock has gone from 232 to 248 levels. I think Ujjivan Finance has some room to perform on upside. If stop loss is placed at 240, I think there is one more chance that the stock can go up within next 2 days, and it can reach to the level of 260, 263 some levels. So I think Ujjivan Finance is a good bet even at current price.
Okay. All right. Well, Neeraj Chauhan's got a question for you, Asta. If you're with us, 60-odd% correction in Viatech Wabag. He's asking whether this is fully justified, and he's asking whether he can enter for the long term.
If we talk about Viatech Wabag, basically the stock is not showing any sort of positive financial performances, and there is no growth is coming in this space, and that's why we have seen such a large correction. My idea is that till the time of election, as mid-cap space is looking volatile, better to invest in the large-cap space and capital goods sector. I find L&T is a better choice. So my idea is get out from this stock and invest in the L&T at the present levels.
All right, let's take another question. In fact, we've got a question about LIC Housing Finance. Why don't you also comment about the recent uptick that we've seen in some of those housing finance names and the NBFC space? Is it your opinion that a bottom has been reached based on the positivity when it comes to perhaps the liquidity scenario and the expectation that it could ease going forward? Asta, that's for you.
Yeah, if we talk about LIC Housing Finance, the kind of turmoil which we have seen in the housing finance space, but now as the latest data has also come up, so everything is going smoothly as the bond yields have also cooled off. So my idea is that housing finance space as a whole is not looking that bad at present level of time. But LIC Housing Finance, I'm not so much optimistic about this company. If anyone wants to go for the housing finance space, then there are other choices like Indiabulls is looking better choice. So my idea is presently stay cautious in the housing finance space, and if anyone want to pick, then Indiabull Housing Finance is a better choice rather than LIC Housing Finance.
All right, that's the view with regard to the housing finance companies. Let's take a short-term query now. We've got Riddhish Shah, who's asking for a technical view on BEPL. In fact, he's asking for a 6-month view. Let's pull up Bhansali Engineering and see where it's currently trading. We've got a lot of queries that come in on this counter. It's about 2% or so lower in trade today. What's the view here, Jignesh? Is there a trade for you in the short term, 6 months?
No, I don't think there is any trade which is boiling at current price, because Bhansali Engineering, BEPL, if you see from the 220 levels, it has gone to 72 some levels today. And I think the fall is tremendous. The fall has happened with good kind of a volume. It has breached the long-term support line as well. I don't think stock can immediately perform upside, although stock at current price is very lower to its 200-day simple moving average. So there is one bounce back is ripen for this counter, and this counter, if it takes a bounce, I think it can go to 85 some levels. So if if viewer is wanting to trade for a short term, I think it can I think he can go with a buy. It is not going to be a portfolio pick, but although you can buy at 72, stop loss should be placed at 66 levels, and I think target should be at 85.
Okay, well, we've got another question for you, more of a sector-related question for you, Jignesh. If you look at the FMCG space, are you seeing any pockets, or are you seeing any names in which you could perhaps place a trade for the short term? This question is from Amol Dongre.
Of course, I think Britannia is one stock. If you see from last 3 days, it is not only seeing the gap ups, but with a good volume build-up, stock is performing well from 2950 to 3151 levels. 2950 is the level of the 200-day simple moving average. So I guess currently buying Britannia is a good bet. 3152 is the level. I would suggest 3000 as a stop loss, and positional view for at least 1 month. I think a stock can go to 3300 levels. So I think risk to reward ratio is also favorable.
All right, that's the call from the FMCG space. Amol, for you, Britannia is the call that Jignesh has for you. Let's take a fundamental question now. We've got a question from Rahul Tiwari, and this one's on insecticides India. It's not the same space necessarily, but I'm going to club this with another company, Joby Elias. He's talking about Deepak Fertilizers. Let's pull up both those charts and ask Asta what she thinks about these two companies. Deepak Fertilizers, in fact, doing quite well in trade today, up about 3.5%. What's the view here, Asta?
If we talk about fertilizer space as a whole, the way election year is upcoming, so we are expecting a farm loan waiver on the one hand, and there many freebies will be there. So altogether, it will be ultimately rising rural income, and if we see some sort of rise in the rural income, then definitely this pocket is also see some sort of funds going into. So my all together, my idea is both the insecticides and Deepak fertilizer, both these counters are looking good. But mind you, these are mid-cap counters. So when there are more volatility in the market, then these counters will not perform that well. So if an investor is a long-term horizon of 2 years or so, then only they should remain invested in such sort of a stock, because after 2019 general elections, we expect these stocks to perform well. But right now, some volatility can be seen. So both these counters are looking good, but my preference is Deepak Fertilizer to Insecticides India Limited.
Okay, these were, as I mentioned, two different queries, but perhaps both of you can benefit from this. Mahesh Verma has got a question for you, Asta. He's thinking of buying into ITC. He's thinking of buying, in fact, 500 shares of ITC for the long term. The stock is currently trading at around 275, 76 or thereabouts. Is it a good trade to get into?
Basically, if we talk about ITC, although the FMCG space is looking good, but if we see past few months performance of this stock, then this stock is not able to perform that well as compared to other peers in the same space of FMCG sector. Like if we talk about HUL, if we talk about Colgate, these two counters, in fact, Marico is performing very well. So there is some sort of a problem in the company. I should not say a problem, but there is some sort of a thing that is not working well with this company, and that's why this company is not able to perform on bourses. So rather investing in the ITC where there is no certainty about what is going on and why the stock is not performing, my idea is go with the Colgate or HUL. Colgate is the choice as we have a coverage on the stock also. So we are finding Colgate to be a very strong bet in the present time. And our target for the Colgate is 1450 to 1500 in the longer term. So rather than buying ITC, my idea is go with Colgate for the price target of 1450 to 1500 in the long term horizon.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've done quite an interesting story on Colgate and its bid to reclaim market share in the toothpaste segment. So you should check that out on the website bloombergquint.com. That stock is up 3% or thereabouts in trade as of now. While we're on the topic of the FMCG space, we've got a question from Rahul and he wants to know about Nestle. Let's pull up the chart and see where it's currently trading. Nestle is up about 0.6% today, trading just under that 11,000 mark in trade. What's the view here, Jignesh, on Nestle? Is this a good entry price for you?
I think I like HUL, Marico and Colgate more than the Nestle, just because while going up, Nestle doesn't have enough volume, and even if you see today from the level of high, it is going down. So currently a negative momentum is built up. I think stock should stay about 10,800 some levels with a good volume, which is not the case right now. So I think I'm at the opinion, if at all we have to go for the consumer space, I think HUL and Marico. HUL is number one, Marico is number two, and Colgate Palmolive is looking attractive at number three because all of them are near to their 200-day moving averages and near to that stop losses.
Okay, well, we've got a question from, and I hope I can say your name right, Faisal Kalivalapil. I hope I got that right. Anyway, he's got a question about Tata Steel and he's asking if this is the right time to enter Tata Steel for the long term. Asta, what's your view on the space as a whole? And if you can also comment on Tata Steel BSL.
If we talk about metal space as a whole, my idea is right now it is not the right time to enter into the metal space because we are seeing a lot of volatility in the sector as a whole as this China and US trade war concerns are there. So I think in the going future also there will be some sort of volatility. So my idea is as a metal space as a whole, I'm not liking it, but presently I'm liking FMCG space a lot. In that my preference is for Colgate as we have a coverage on the stock also. You just see their volume, their market share. They are ahead of their competitors, whether it's Patanjali, whether it's Dabur. So altogether, their toothpaste volume is ahead. It is almost 3 times of their competitors, and in the toothbrush space also, they are 3 times ahead of their competitors. Look at the financial performance of this company, and now this company is coming out with the various programs which will be ultimately helping in driving its margins, operating profits. Although we have seen 11% growth, so altogether, rather than metal space, FMCG is a defensive space right now. Go with the FMCG, and Colgate is the best choice in that.
All right, well, that's the view on metals. Avoid it and instead choose the FMCG space. You've heard the advice from Asta. Let's take another question. This one, a technical question. Puneet Nanda is asking for a 2-month view on a Radico Khaitan. Let's pull it up and see where it's currently trading. Jignesh, on the charts, what are the levels that you would look forward to? Currently trading 2.4% as far as I can see.
Of course, I think stock is performing well, at least from last 3 days. But what I can see from the chart as a whole, stock has not come out of its consolidation range. It is consolidation from a long term, consolidating from a long term now. It has been consolidating ever since the January 2018. But at least I think momentum is on the positive side currently. 320 is the level. Stock has not breached in the recent time. I think from last 3 days, stock has come above, come on the higher levels from 360 levels. So 360 levels should be treated as a stop loss for this counter. And I think 470, 480, the earlier high of this counter should be treated as a target. So from current level, yes, viewer can go ahead and buy with a 360 stop loss and 480 target.
Okay, we've got a couple of stocks that you've got to comment on, Asta. In fact, I think this is to do with somebody's portfolio. So he's keen on finding out whether Petronet LNG and HDFC Standard Life, in completely different sectors. So this is why I'm assuming that this is for a portfolio. He's looking at this for the next 10 years. So I do not think that the current market price matters very much. How do you look at these two companies, and would you suggest these or would you recommend others to fit into a portfolio for the next 10 years?
If we talk about Petronet LNG right now, I'm not very much positive on the stock. First of all, it is trading near its 52-week low. Secondly, the company has shown degrowth in their financial performance in the Q2 of FY19. So right now, this stock is not looking good for the investment purpose, even if it is for 10 years. And so my idea is, if you want to invest in some stock for the longer period of a time, then Petronet, despite Petronet LNG, my idea is go with the FMCG space first of all. And the IT space is also looking very good in that TCS and HCL. Both these counters are looking very great. So FMCG and IT are my preferred choice at the present point of time. Maybe we'll pick up Petronet LNG sort of stocks later on when there is less volatility. But at the present point of time, if you want to invest in something, go with the FMCG and IT. TCS, HCL, and then Colgate and HUL are my preferred picks.
All right. It seems as if we've got a caller, the first one in quite a while. Hi, this is Alex. Who's calling?
Yeah, hello, sir. This is Pawan calling.
Hi, Pawan. How can I help you today?
So actually, I had purchased a lot of Dr. Reddy's day before yesterday at 27.20.
Okay.
After the market closing, some unexpected news came in that the US court has put some hold or something like that. And it's jumped straight away 50-60 rupees from there.
Correct.
So presently it's around 120 rupees down. So should I average or should it be rolled over or something?
Okay, so this is
the strategy next.
Okay. And obviously this is you bought a lot, right? This is one lot bought at 27.40, if I'm not mistaken. Was that right?
27.20, sir.
27.20. Okay. Let's take this over to Jignesh. Jignesh, we've got a question on Dr. Reddy's. I'm pretty sure you heard that. What is the strategy that you would suggest at this point?
Of course, I have heard that. I think Dr. Reddy is not a stock that is looking bad at all. It is looking good. However, when a stock performs pretty well and goes very high above the 200-day simple moving average, it has a tendency to go into the consolidation. I think viewer has bought at the higher level, 2700 somewhere, and that is why he is having this problem. I think current level he should not average out, but yes, he can stay invested in 2589 is the level on the screen. I think 2560 should be the stop loss. 2560, the stop loss should be taken very seriously in here. I think if stock goes below 2560, it can go even at 2500 levels. So I think current level he should hold with a stop loss at 2560. If it survives 2560, I think it can definitely go to the 2678 levels. If it goes to 2678, viewers should come to us and once again take a review.
All right. Well, that's a view, Pawan, on Dr. Reddy's Labs. The movement has to do with certain developments in the US, as you mentioned. Let's move on and take another question. Prasenjit Chaudhary is asking for the outlook and perhaps whether this is a good entry price point for KEI Industries for what he says is a medium-term outlook. What's a view on KEI Industries? Is currently trading 4% higher, Asta, in trade today.
If we talk about KEI Industries, it is into the electrical, so definitely this company is looking very good. 46% sort of growth they have posted in their quarter second of FY19 in the bottom line. So altogether this counter is looking good, and even if we talk about the price to earning multiple ratio, then again it is reasonably valued at the 17p multiple. So altogether everything is looking good with this company. So my idea is start accumulating or start buying KEI Industries at the present point of time.
Okay, I do want to mention, Kishore, I saw that you had this question yesterday as well, and unfortunately I can't find the stock that you're talking about unless it's by a different name. Can you please check and let me know? In the meanwhile, let me take another question from Sudarshan. He's asking for a view on a couple of companies, Group Finance and Varun Beverages. What's the view here, Asta? Are these good bets for the long term?
First of all, I want to talk about Grab Finance. If we talk about Grab Finance, everything is going good with this company. Only the problem is with the valuations, because it is trading at a higher PE multiple of around 49 and 50, which is very high at the present point of time. So valuation is the only concern, and that's why my idea is don't buy this stock at the present point of time. Although the fundamentals are very strong in this company, but due to higher valuations, just wait for some more time, let the stock fall, and then only just enter into the stock. But due to the high valuation presently, my idea is stay away from the stock.
All right, let's take a short-term query if we can. Okay, so, well, it appears that it's the time for me to slip into Varun Beverages. All right, so that's good. We haven't gotten a view, Asta, on Varun Beverages. What's your recommendation there?
If we talk about Varun Beverages is looking very good. FMCG, it's into a FMCG space, so we are expecting this space to perform good at least in the coming 3 to 4 months. So if anyone wants to buy Varun Beverages, they can presently buy the stock. Although the valuations are not very comfortable, but still looking after the strong financial performance by this company, my idea is buy Varun Beverages at the present point of time.
Okay, let's take what might just be a low-hanging fruit for you, Jignesh, because I think you'll have the numbers memorized at this point. Ujjwal Kumar is asking for a short-term view on Reliance Industries. What are the levels that he should look out for?
I think for extreme short-term stock has a negative momentum already. I think it is not performing well the way we want. From the lower levels of 1040, it went up but could not sustain the higher levels. Today it is in negative momentum. I think 1120 should be the stop loss and target should be around 1080. I think stock will take a dip before it performs over the higher side. For the long term, I am bullish for this stock, but I think for the short term, some consolidation cannot be ruled out.
All right, well, it's that time of the show where we slip into the rapid fire segment. Remember, this is the portion where we try to accommodate as many questions as possible. Experts, do keep your answers as short as possible, but also as cogent as possible. Let's start with a view on Bharat Rasayan. If you track the counter, Asta, would you recommend a fresh entry?
Surely it is into the chemical space. Chemical space is looking good. So my idea is buy Bharat Rasayan, but after some fall, not at the present point of time.
Okay, do either of you, I'm going to check with Jignesh, do you have a view on Saxoft? This is the counter, in fact, where Kishore was asking whether there's an entry that you can advise. Not very high volumes, in fact, currently trading at 285.
Yes, 285 is a good level to buy, although not a very good volume, but recently when stock is seeing the upside, it has a good volume. So 285 should be the buy level, 278 should be the stop loss with a target of 395 levels. Sorry, 295 level.
All right. We spoke about the India Bulls pack at the start of this program. Asta, what's the view on India Bulls real estate? It's doing particularly well in trade today, but for the long term, is it a good stock to buy?
Real estate as a sector as a whole, I'm not finding it attractive at present point of time because we can see some sort of pain, and that's why I don't advise to buy India Bulls real estate at present point of time. Wait for some more time before entering into the stock.
Okay, of the stocks that I named, would you recommend a switch from any of them for the long term? GIC, NBCC, NTPC and Indian Oil. Asta, any of them, would you recommend a switch?
For GIC, I would like to say, I mean, all the stocks are looking good but for the GIC housing finance, again, a switch is there with the India Bulls housing finance.
Okay, let's take a view on Minda Corp. Would you recommend a fresh entry into Minda Corp? If not, another player in the auto ang space you can tell us about?
Auto ancillary space is not looking good at present point of time, and that's why I'm not very much comfortable with the Minda Corp. So my idea is enter into the stock after some time, but not at the present point of time, and even not in any other auto ancillary space also.
All right. Well, on that note, it appears as if we're completely out of time. I do want to thank our guests. Thank you so much, Asta and Jignesh, for helping the viewers that you could help today with all the queries that they had. That's all we have on this edition of Ask BQ. But do remember that you can join us tomorrow as well, and I'll try and take as many questions as possible. I do apologize to those who joined in and didn't have their questions answered today. Promise to take as many of your questions as possible tomorrow. Do stay tuned though. Up next is Power Lunch. This is Bloomberg Quint.